Hey there, I'm Nick from Workstream.io, and if you are watching this today, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm here today to talk to you about why Atlassian isn't enough for data teams. And I find this topic fascinating. I hope you're going to find it fascinating. And so we'll talk a little bit about what we've learned from all of our discussions with literally hundreds of teams. We've talked to hundreds of their teams since starting this company about their agile practices and their workflows. And I'm just very, very passionate about the topic of data workflows and how we can make the lives of data practitioners easier. And so we'll talk about where we've come and where we're going with our workflows and how Workstream can help. And I just think this is so critical because when done right, modern data teams serve as the decision-making nerve center of your organization. So much depends on you. And we've built a company and a platform around the idea that this simply repurposing the tools and methodologies of software engineering teams, while it's gotten us really, really far, it is also one of the things that's holding us back. So I think with that, I think it's important for us to acknowledge that the best data teams today are working the developer's way, or they're working like developers or like engineers, however you want to exactly explain it. But this fundamentally is about a lot of things. It's a change in mindset. It's a change in the core data tools that you use. And it's a change in your practices as a team, in your processes, and what you do and how you work on a day-to-day basis. And there's so much here to unpack. I could talk for hours about this. So let me just highlight, I think, two important and relevant points for today. When you look at the technologies that a data team uses and deploys today, there are all of these really, really new and powerful technologies. And this is across the entire, what we would call hierarchy of data needs. If you're not familiar with this hierarchy or this pyramid, this concept basically says the top of your pyramid, your analytics work, your AI and machine learning work to optimize and predict the future of your business. That's really the sexy work, the most impactful work that data teams want to tackle. But in order to get there, they need to handle all of the foundational layers first, right? So these bottom layers of collecting and cleaning and defining your metrics and tracking your data are foundational, and everything is dependent upon them. And when you look at this pyramid, data teams, generally speaking, have new technologies that allow them to live the engineering mindset across all parts of the delivery of data, across all of the parts of the pyramid. And so this adoption of, for example, the title analytics engineer is about a lot more than just a title change. It's about how engineering the bottom layers of this pyramid changes what data teams are capable of. That's just important to recognize because the tools we use are radically different than what they were 10 years ago and radically different than any other team, including software engineering. And when you look at how data teams work, this is transformed too, again, largely borrowed to date from software engineering. If you Google the term data ops, you're going to see a lot of definitions and thought leadership out there. This framework on the right is from our friends at GitLab, and it's effectively what the framework of DevOps is. And data ops is heavily borrowed as a concept and framework from DevOps. And the adoption of these practices has transformed how data teams work, how you collaborate, how you engineer your pipelines, how you build your models and test and deploy them, right? And each one of these parts of the framework, generally speaking, include now deploying unique technologies to bring to bear, right? So each one of these, version control, continuous integration, continuous delivery, or shifting left and being focused more on testing and security practices. Each one of these is a mindset at its core, but you can leverage data-specific tooling to help you do that today. So in almost all of these cases, we have data-specific tooling that we can bring to bear to help us here. But I don't think that has historically been true when it comes to Agile. Agile today is still largely repurposed purely from software engineering, both as a practice as well as a tool set. So what's the catch, Nick, right? Like, is there actually a problem here? What issues do we uncover when we double click on Agile and its promise as this process methodology, right? This promise that it can help you deliver more quickly as a data team, more iteratively, and more reliably. And the catch is what happens when you simply adopt Agile without any thought to the differences and the nuances between software engineering and data work. And if you do that, Agile may be where your data and your data products go to die. I mean, this is just such an amazing quote from Hillary Mason. She's now the CEO of Hidden Door and used to run machine learning at Cloudera. And if you unpack it a little bit more, she speaks about the kind of iterative nature of data work and how data is this iterative process of asking questions and learning, maybe asking something else, and where the end result is often a decision that's made or another iterative loop, as opposed to software engineering, where there's much more of a known kind of beginning and end, right? And I think this is true, right? If you dive into this pure play Agile, especially like a really structured version like Scrum, doesn't do a great job of handling the exploratory and iterative work of data teams. And then you also hear comments like this comment from Ben Stansel, founder of Mode and now of ThoughtSpot, talking about how badly data teams manage their intake processes, right? So data teams, we have these core Agile workflows, but then there's all of these really important interconnected workflows to take in work from other parts of the business or infrastructure. And he just laments about how the fact that data teams are so bad at this. Why have we, as data teams, failed so miserably when others have succeeded? And I think the honest answer to this is that Agile is the worst form of government for data teams, except for all the others that we've tried. It's gotten us really, really far, and we should be thankful to it. We should be grateful, and we should applaud every data team that's adopted a Kanban board. But we should also be honest that it's not the perfect fit because of what both Hillary and Ben say. There's this iterative nature to data work, and data work also has to balance all of these intake processes simultaneously. And so those are just some of the things that make it very, very different. And I think the broader case against Agile are not only these things, right? That the data work is more iterative with no predefined beginning or end, but our corollary to it, which is data work is more interconnected to all parts of your business. It's interconnected with all of your business leaders and your frontline managers, and honestly, every one of your employees. It might be connected to your customers. It's collaborative in that way. It's really interconnected and driven by your data infrastructure in really interesting ways as well. And it's also far less modular. Data teams are smaller. There are fewer different roles on these teams. It's very rare that you've got like a product manager that's managing your board and helping you prioritize everything. And oftentimes that single data person could deliver upon a whole task or a whole project. And so just to think that, hey, software engineering and these frameworks are the solution to all of our problems is probably the wrong answer. All of this points to Agile not being the perfect fit Because ultimately, what is Agile and what does it do really, really well? It's designed for what I would call and what we would call complicated systems. And Agile really, if you look at it, is the successor to scientific management, to really the assembly line. And what does really well is help you streamline these kind of linear predictive systems and worlds. It helps you transform known inputs into known outputs with these very linear process steps where there's not lots of context required from one step to the other. So one person could pick up a subsequent step after someone might have delivered a previous step. But that's just not the world that data teams live in at all. Data teams live in much more of what I would call and what we would call a complex world, a world in which, as generally Stanley McChrystal would say, it makes it impossible to know which events or what work might lead to what kinds of results. It's that iterative work that Hillary talked about. This is multidimensional in nature where your inputs and outputs can come from any direction. Your process steps might be independent. That single person can carry the ball all the way across the finish line. And so if you're a data team living in a complex world, how do you build a system to navigate it? Yes, there is value in having a Kanban board and adopting some parts of Agile. But if it's just Agile, if that's the only solution to your problems, you are going to result in a data team that struggles to prioritize the most impactful work. You're going to find yourself wasting your time doing things like triaging data outages, facing constant interruptions from your end users, or struggling with tribal knowledge within your own data team, or more broadly, tribal data knowledge across your organization. And this is ultimately a data team that lacks a clear value prop or ROI, right? If you're not guided by the value you're bringing to your customers and your methodologies don't reflect that, ultimately, your ROI is going to be far, far diminished. So all of these things, these really difficult considerations, this is where WorkstreamIO comes in. We are the new standard for your data workflows. We are designed for the reality of your data work. Our approach integrates your core Agile workflow with all of your critical intake processes. That includes your data incident workflows and how your data team centralizes and manages and communicates about data incidents to your organization. That includes your critical data support, how you support and enable everyone in the business on your data and provide them training and documentation and data knowledge. And it includes measuring the success of your team and its ROI. So with that, let's dive into a quick demo of WorkstreamIO and how this all fits together. So if we hop here into WorkstreamIO, we provide you with a single place to manage all of your data workflows. If we start with this last piece, we give you a single place to get insights into your environment, everything that's happening within your environment, new dashboards that are created, assets that might be failing, or even maybe inbound conversations that are happening and getting prioritized in your core workflows. So there's a lot here, but if I dive more into some of the workflows that we help with, let's start with data incident automation. When you leverage WorkstreamIO for your data incident workflows, we give you a single place to centralize all of your data incidents and communicate that to folks throughout the business. This triage process includes everything that you would expect, including, for example, the ability to assign the next member of your on-call team. That person can manually reassign the owner of an incident that might have been flagged. You can send incidents in here from your core data systems like a dbt or a Monte Carlo, or you can configure custom webhooks from any custom ETL pipeline that you might have set up. If you're interested in understanding more or sharing context with your team, you can hop into this incident and take a quick look at it. In this case, this is an incident that was flagged from Monte Carlo, and I can type up an explanation of my findings here. And as you would expect, oftentimes an incident like this that is being addressed by your on-call team is going to require some follow-on work that needs to be prioritized. And this is where so many core workflows break down. We give you a really quick way to create a ticket on your Agile board, whatever Agile board you already use. And unlike other methodologies for doing this, we not only will automatically create the ticket here in your board, but this ticket and this incident then start to become bidirectionally synced, right? So if we detect that this incident has been closed, automatically we'll close the ticket on your board and vice versa. So this all becomes a single integrated system. So that's one way that you can think about how Workstream helps connect your core intake, in this case, data incident management, with your core project-based Agile workflow. In another world or another part of your data stack, you often have end users who are reaching out with questions or requests or clarifications. And this can be in Slack. This can be all over the place. And again, we give you a single place to manage this part of your workflow. You can see all of the conversations that you are supporting with folks across your organization about your data. There's so many different places that folks throughout your organization might reach out to you, like requesting information. And it becomes a whole scattered mess. With Workstream.io, they can still do that. In fact, they can do that in more places than ever, but we centralize it and bring it all together for you. So in this case, an end user might be looking at this dashboard or a self-service data asset, and they can see a list of all of the conversations and FAQs that are related to this. Maybe they want to go ahead and create a new conversation or ask something very specific and provide an annotation here for your team. And they can do that now right from the UI of your BI tool. And because of the interconnected nature of Workstream.io, not only will we centralize it in a single queue for you, regardless if they reach out here in your BI tool or via email or via Slack or even via our UI, we'll not only centralize that for you, but we'll help automatically create and sync tickets in your backlog. So this question, the sample question here, you can also hop into and view the associated ticket within your Jira backlog or within your Agile Project Management tool backlog. And again, those statuses will sync. And so what used to be a series of really, really disconnected processes now can all be connected because of the power of the Workstream.io platform and how we bring together your triage processes with your core data work and your Agile processes. And more broadly, there are just so many other workflows that we can help you facilitate and integrate with your core workflows. This could include, for example, alerting end users about critical changes in your data. In this case, an active incident. They can be alerted from within Slack, or in this case, the UI of your BI tool. We can take them to a critical knowledge share, like a status page, to let them know about the historical uptime or what is actually happening with this specific incident. That could include enabling end users about this data, documentation and training content and videos, definitions of critical metrics that you might be able to analyze and view here, the actual status of this dashboard, a certified dashboard as an example. So we can include all of these things, or even investigating and understanding the value of an asset like this to the organization and how often it's viewed and who's viewing it over time and what exactly they're seeing. And so if you're interested, please watch some of these videos here at the bottom, and we can dive more into how some of these other workflows can help and can plug into your core workflows. And before we go and wrap today, I would just like to mention that if this interests you, it is so easy to get started and it's so easy to transform how your team works with a new standard for data workflows. We have a lot of different ways that you can get started. We have a free core SKU, which includes all of our core functionality, and you can get started with that right now for free. If you have questions about that, email me or find time with me. We can help you automate and streamline your processes in custom onboarding sessions or in our weekly live demo series. And we also offer for teams that really want to lean in today to WorkstreamIO, a really, really affordable team plan, which again, you can reach out to us about. So please, if you're still with me and the promise of changing your workflows is something you're interested in, please act on it today because there's many, many ways that we can help you. And with that, I'll wrap. Thanks so much for joining. Again, I'm Nick at Workstream.io if you have any questions and if you want to talk more.